views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program host and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by TCN TV Network Incorporated. Due to the social nature of this broadcasting channel, videos may contain content copyrighted by another entity or person. The TCN TV Network claims no rights to the said content. TCN TV Network cannot be held accountable for the copyrighted content. TCN TV Network is a messenger and sharer of information and strives to verify but cannot warrant the accuracy of copyrights or completeness of the information on this program.
Hi everybody, welcome to Shaping Life. I'm so sorry if you're watching live, we are a little bit late in our broadcast today due to some technical difficulties once again, but we're here and I'm so excited. Shaping Life is a show where we get to connect and speak about health. We connect with great people and just the right information to set us on a path to being our best selves. And I'm your host, Trish Curling. So today I'm so excited to share my very special guest is Devon MD Jones. Welcome, Devon. How are you?
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, so happy to have you on, and I can't wait to dig into today's show. But first, I just want to give our audience a little bit about you and just read some details about your bio first. So Devon is here. Devon's a fascial stretch therapist. Quite a long resume. She's amazing. Personal trainer. She's a performance stretch system trainer, Thai massage practitioner, boot camp instructor. She has a degree in sociology and communications. She competed 5 years as a competitive varsity athlete, and we're going to talk lots about that. She was also a competitor on Canada's Smartest Person, Season 3, Episode 4. I'll add in there, so you can catch that somewhere. Check her out. And she's also a motivational speaker and has spoken internationally. And currently studying reflexology, so we're going to talk about that a bit as well. So again, Devon, thank you for being on the show today. I'm really looking forward to you sharing not only your journey, but also the incredible work that you do to change people's lives. So I'm really happy to speak about that. So I would love you to start with telling us, first of all, where you're from, where you're coming to us from today.
I'm originally from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Born and raised. My parents are from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But I always like to say that as much as I grew up in Winnipeg, my parents raised me very Caribbean.
Yes. That's important. There's a distinction.
I know. It is. They surrounded us with a lot of cultural influences, and we were part of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Association of Manitoba. So yeah, we are very involved in our community. I left Winnipeg to go to the University of Windsor to go to the #1 track school in Canada at the time.
Excellent.
So I competed as a long jump and triple jumper. That was an amazing time. Windsor was amazing at that time. It was probably known as the party school, but...
Yes, I remember. I went to York, so all I heard about were Windsor parties.
But the best part of that experience was that because we were so close to the U.S., that most of the time our competitions and meets that we went to were within the U.S.
Amazing.
So we would go compete in the U.S. and then we'd come back and compete against everybody else in Toronto, Windsor, Western, London, all over Canada. So it also gave us a different experience, and I think it also gives you an edge seeing how the American athletes treat their training versus how the Canadian athletes. It's not as intense as when you go to the U.S. It's like, this is my life.
Yeah,
right?
okay, yes. Okay, good. I want you to touch on that because we're going to talk about that in a bit. Um, at one point, you mentioned in your bio that you were ranked fifth in Canada for triple jump. So talk about that. Like, that's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, that was my pretty much my last year of training. Um, I was ranked fifth for triple jump, and I was trying to make it to Olympic trials. So I know a lot of people don't know that in order to make it to Olympic trials, you have to hit a certain standard in order to be qualified.
Okay.
So I was literally like 0.03 away from the
Uh,
qualification, and I had one more meet.
wow.
And in that last meet, I jumped the worst I've ever jumped in my life.
Oh,
In
no.
that last meet.
Wow.
But I also have to add, there was a lot of injuries and there was a lot of things I wasn't dealing with.
Right.
So it was to a point where I'd have to pop about 4 Advils in order to jog
Oh,
because
wow.
my shin splints were so bad that it was just like, you're just like, okay, this is just a part of life.
Right.
You pop these like painkillers and you go and do your job.
Right, right, right. And so you touched on the
Yeah.
training. So, I mean, talk about that and maybe tie in how that contributed to the injury. Like you said, just kind of, band-aid treatments, dealing with the
Yeah.
injuries and so on.
It's interesting being now on the therapist side of it, and I literally probably said like yesterday that I wish I knew what I
Yeah,
know
yep.
now when I had my 20-year-old body.
Right. Exactly.
And even when I train now, like in the summer, I'll go to the track and I'll sprint and I'll run. And even at my current age, it's it's harder. It's hard, but at the same time, I still feel that I can push myself so much more mentally and
Hmm.
physically because of the things that I know and understand. So
Right.
right now, I know running the other thing on the treadmill. And as I'm running, I'm like, oh, my left glute isn't activating. So
Right.
I'm running in a way like almost like limping on the treadmill, not stopping, but limping in a way so that I'm activating it and then it
Right.
turns on and then I can continue my workout without causing even more injury to myself.
Incredible.
But it was a process, and I had to get to a certain point in my life to understand that if I knew these things when I was 20 years old, competing varsity athlete and such, it would have changed everything. It would have changed my
Absolutely.
trajectory and where I ended up within that industry. But I also believe in everything happens for a reason.
Me too, girl. Absolutely.
Right? And I
100.
wouldn't be here. And I love my life right now, and I wouldn't be here if all of those things didn't happen to bring me here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that attitude. So at what point did you make that change? Did you say, okay, I'm injured? Obviously, that was at that point, I'm sure, a devastation.
Mm-hmm.
But then how did you turn that around and say, okay, I need to get treatment?
It wasn't automatic. Like it took a very long time. I
Okay.
literally in that last track meet where I had to make the Olympic standard that day. Um, we were in BC doing the I can't remember what it was called, the IFAs or whatever. It was like
Hmm.
this international league that we were doing in the summer between school sessions, and yeah, I jumped horribly, and I literally did my last jump, and I looked at my coach and I said, I'm done. And
Ah,
that was it. That was the last time that I did. But it was just
wow.
like I was in so much pain that I was like, I just can't do this to my body anymore.
Right.
Yeah. But that was my last city, and then when I graduated, I went into corporate America, tried to use my degree, but then there was a part of me that was just like, I still want to do something athletic. So then
Hmm.
I got my personal training certification.
Okay, so you did that first.
Yeah. So I
Excellent.
did my
Excellent.
personal training certification. I was a horrible trainer.
Okay. There you
I
go.
was. I was absolutely horrible because I tried to train everybody the way I trained myself.
Ah, got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just didn't know any better. Right. I
Yeah.
came off of being an athlete, and I was like, oh, everybody can be an athlete. They're just not working hard enough.
Right, right, right. Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
I was like,
And so, wait a
I
minute.
know I know. I had no understanding of, everybody has different body types. Everybody has different experiences.
Right.
Mentally, physically, all those things are bigger in how your body develops and grows.
Right.
And so I ended up going into corporate even more because I ended up working as a membership coordinator at the gym instead of training.
Okay.
And did that more. Yeah. So I got more on that side, and then that led me into corporate. And it was almost 15 years before I came back to training again.
Wow. Okay. Amazing. I love it. I love this growth, and I love the attitude here as well, Devon, in terms of the path that you've taken. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that jump as well, and that move and change into becoming a fascial stretch therapist when we come back. So we'll see you soon on Shaping Life.
At Benjamin Law, we understand the real cost of personal injuries. As the victim of an accident, you may be the one who's physically hurt, but your main concern is that your family are the ones who will pay the price. Benjamin Law will be there for you, helping, supporting, and working tirelessly to resolve your personal injury case. Call 1-855-899-4878 or visit benjaminlaw.ca and let our family of lawyers help your family.
I know what stretching is, and I know what therapy is. I've been to physiotherapy and stuff like that, but what the heck is fascial stretch therapy specifically?
Fascial stretch therapy, I like to look at it this way. Everybody knows about their muscles, their bones. Fascia itself is connective tissue, and it connects everything within your body. So if you're stretching your muscles and you're working on your bones and you're doing all these things, but you're not actually stretching the fascia, then you're not really going to see a lot of improvement without doing that. So we specialize in fascia itself and how to stretch it.
But first of all, that stretch, or those stretches, I should say, look delicious. Okay, I really want a piece of that. But I love it. You recently posted that video on your Instagram, just explaining obviously what fascial stretch therapy is. But let's back up a little bit and talk about explain what is fascia, because I think obviously in the industry it's becoming more talked about and studied and so on. But in talking to some other people, just the general public, they may not know what that is. So I'd love you to explain it.
Probably the simplest way to explain fascia itself. Everybody, well, for the most part, most people have handled raw chicken, right? So if you have a chicken breast and you see that white stuff when you're cleaning your chicken, that white stuff that is all over your chicken, and sometimes you want to take it off. Some people take it off, some people don't, especially when you're washing your chicken.
Very key. Caribbean broad-topsy right there. Hint, hint.
So that white stuff, sometimes it's like see-through and it's just like, it's a little bit gooey. That's the fascia of the chicken.
Okay.
So that is the same thing that we have in our bodies that runs throughout our whole bodies. When we look at fascia, we don't look at muscles, we don't look at tissues, and we don't look at specific areas. We actually look at the lines of your body in terms of the lateral lines, the spiral lines, the superficial back lines. There's different lines throughout your body that when we are stretching your fascia, that's what we're actually looking at. So when you come in and, for example, I'll actually use a client I had this week. She came in and she's like, on her left side, her shoulder was hurting and her hip was hurting. When I went to go stretch her and doing our assessment, her whole lateral line of her left side was extremely tight. So it's not just her hip hurts. It's not just her shoulder hurts. everything in between there was extremely tight to the point where it's literally like a band, right? So
Right.
your shoulders here, your hips here, and it's literally, if inside's tight, everything's getting pulled and it's showing up in your shoulder and your hip. But the actual area that needed stretching the most was her whole sideline. So that's where her anterior serratus anterior is, where her lateral, where her lats are. So all of those things along there are the things that we need to stretch in that aspect.
And so that's so interesting because, I mean, what if, people who say like, well, I stretch all the time, I'm having this pain. So how do you make that distinction between just general stretching and actually stretching the fascia?
It's hard as like an individual to stretch your own fascia. And like I said, like you said, there's still a lot of research being done on fascia, and we're learning more and more every single day. There's certain things like right now with me taking my reflexology course, there's new levels to it, right? Like to the things that I already knew, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I'm just like, I'm in the middle of the session and I'm like, something that I never thought of is like, oh, and then this attracts to this, and it's just like, it's like this puzzle.
Right.
The body is like completely like puzzles where everything is connected, but you need this piece to attach to this piece in order to make the whole picture.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I mean, I know what you're saying when you say that, like, the lights just turn on and you're like, oh, that blows my mind. This is amazing. Yeah. Especially when you're going to make that impact, that powerful impact on someone's life, We have a video of you here working with Damali, who was also previously on the show, and I know that you go to Lift Off Strength. Damali is the owner of Lift Off Strength, and you go there once a month in Brampton. Let's take a look at this video with Damali. So, I mean, even something like that now, Devon, like that looks like, not much is happening, right? To, just the naked eye or whatever. But obviously to you as a therapist, tell us about, first of all, what was happening with Damali, and if you can give us a little brief insight into what you were doing.
Depending on, I use that in two different modalities that I use. So in the performance stretch system, we use that, and also in Thai massage, we use that. And it's a form of acupressure, right? So if anybody's had acupuncture, similar to acupuncture itself, there are energy lines that run throughout our body, pressure points that run throughout our body. There's a lot of talk right now on pressure points, and within the industry, it's like, do you want to talk about it? Do you not talk about it?
Right.
Because it's so like controversial right now.
Right.
Some people are like, they don't exist anymore. That's not real. And then other people are like, of course they're real. It's great. I know when I feel it. I know this.
Right.
So it's a hard thing to talk about right now.
Right.
But within Thai massage, we pretty much focus on acupressure. So within that, you're literally like, I'm literally stepping on her hamstrings in order to bring more of the blood flow into the area, so that her will feel warmed up and be able to loosen out, and then be able to be stretched a little bit more. So that's why I like the combination of using fascial stretch and Thai massage together, because Thai is a little bit more relaxing. Stretch is a little bit more rehabilitating to a certain extent. Yeah. Okay, great. And also preventative.
Wonderful. Good, because we're going to touch on that a little bit later as well. I think later too, I mean, we're not going to be able to put up the videos, but we saw the difference later in her in terms of how she could squat. So, was that just as a result of, oh, now things are firing properly, now I feel less pain? Is that, obviously the goal?
It's a mix of things. So
Okay.
some of the courses that I take, I don't list if I don't have a full certification in them.
Sure.
There's a lot of courses and things I take just for general knowledge.
Right.
So I've taken a course in neurokinetic therapy,
Mm-hmm.
and neurokinetic therapy is about the connection between the muscles and the brain,
Right.
and how those two work together. And we do a lot of muscle testing within that. So I use that within my services. And within that, we do the muscle testing to find out what is actually happening and why is something happening.
Right.
So for example, like exactly what I was talking about before, like you can walk in and be like, my hip hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, your hip hurts. I can go in and go directly on your hip. I can loosen it up enough so that when you walk out the door, it's fine enough for you to be able to do a squat, you be able to function.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, that pain's going to come back if we don't go to the root of what is actually
Right.
causing your hip to hurt.
Okay.
So that is a big part of what I do, is trying to get to the root of the problem, to be like doing the muscle testing, figuring out, hey, this is what's happening. So your psoas isn't firing, so your hip flexors are doing more work than they need to. So we need to release your hip flexors, activate your psoas, and then I'm going to give you a series of exercises in order to make sure that these are still going to be firing.
Right.
And reconnect the systems between your brain and that muscle, so that when you do your exercises, that muscle automatically turns on without you having to fire it.
Right.
So it's a process. It's not like, a lot of times, because I do a lot of before and afters, and people have drastic results after their stretches. But at the end of the day, it's like, if they don't do their exercises and they don't do their stretches, guess what? It's going to come back.
That's right. That's so key. And we're going to show some of your client before and afters in a moment. But one of the things I want to look at before we actually go to a break is if we could backtrack and just look at assessment, because I like what you said. You said one of the most important things that we look at when we're working with clients is, or when you're working with clients, is, you ask them, like, what is it that you actually want to do? So talk about that for a bit.
And it's funny, I don't even know where I started doing that, but I remember asking someone one time, and they're like, nobody's ever asked me that. and it was actually an athlete, a professional athlete, who I was like, what do you want to do better?
Right.
Because you can come in, because if someone comes in and they don't have, like, say, a specific injury that they're working on or anything of that sort, that's the question that I ask them. I'm like, what would you like to do better?
Absolutely.
Right. Like, and some people is literally like, I would like to sit at my desk and work without, like, feeling like my back is on fire.
Right.
Right? Like, sometimes it's as simple as that.
I was just going to say, right? It seems so simple, but I mean, it can have such a drastic impact on our daily lives and just even our emotional health, with, like, dealing with these, chronic pains daily, that seem like they should just be, something that is simply changed or simply done, but it has such a large impact when you can treat them in this way and cure something like that. So when we come back, we're going to take a peek at some of your client testimonials and some of the before and afters as well that you talked about. See you soon.
I'm your host, Erica Lita, and this is What Matters on TCN Network. What I do every week is I cover what matters to our audience.
there we go. How was your stretch today?
Stretch was fantastic. It hit the spots I really needed. Honestly, I had a dream of how to work the area, and she actually did it exactly how I thought it should get worked. And every stretch she did really attacked and the area and loosened it up, and now I actually feel fantastic. And it's been a while since I felt fantastic.
Awesome. So what was wrong when you came in? What were you feeling?
So SI joint was super locked, super tight, and it was causing problems with my hip, and I had a bit of hip impingement. So she really worked. I don't know what the medical terms are, but she did a bunch of stretches that I couldn't do on my own, and really worked it out. Now I feel great.
Awesome. Yay!
What a great testimonial.
Yeah, he's a CFL player, so he plays for the Edmonton Eskimos. What are they called now? Wait, they changed their names.
Oh, I'm the worst person to ask about that.
I know they changed. It used to be the Eskimos or something, but they changed it.
Okay, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also like that what he said. He's like, I don't know what the technical terms are, but anyways, I feel good, and that's at the end of the day, that's what people want.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So let's have a look at a few of these before and afters. You talked about some of the immediate things that can happen. So there are a few shots I grabbed here from your Instagram that show, like an immediate change in squat, for example. As they come up, feel free to talk about these, Devon.
Okay. Yeah, so some of them, and I used to always post the dramatic ones.
Right.
And now I started posting a little bit to show people. And I'm like, not every time you come in is it going to be super ridiculously dramatic.
Right.
It also depends on where you're coming from, how much you're able to let go within a session. Because if it's a 90-minute session and I'm spending half of it just telling you to relax and release, and we're doing breathing and such, there's a lot of times we're not going to get through as much. And sometimes it's a process of gaining trust, and it's building that relationship, because if it's brand new to you, a lot of times it's going to be terrifying. Like it's funny how when people walk in, you can feel the energy, and I can pretty much tell, like, oh, this person's going to be super tight, because in their brain, they've already kind of decided that they're skeptical. And so there's like this tension that runs all the way throughout their body. And then there's some people who come in just super ready to go.
Yes.
And you're like, and it's just like, oh, this is going to be fun. Like, like this is not going to be as much as a workout for me.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, I'm the one who has to do all the work. Right?
Yes, exactly. It's funny. That's a perfect lead-in, actually, because I was going to say to you, as a therapist, you still have to pay so much close attention to your own body and how you're using it. So let's actually have a look at this stretch that you do for yourself. This was a really good one.
Okay, let's start with the left side, so I can keep facing you. You're going to take your left arm, and you're going to bring it underneath, and bring your shoulder down all the way to the ground and your head to the ground. And then you're going to bring your other arm all the way up, okay? This in itself, some of you will feel a stretch here, a lot of you will not. In order to take this to the next level, what you're going to do, one, make sure your knees are shoulder width apart, nice and spaced, and you're not leaning to one side. You're taking away the stretch. You want this shoulder facing down. Then you're going to press your bottom shoulder, this shoulder. You're going to press this shoulder down into the ground and pull it against the ground backwards. So you're doing a twist. So I'm doing this motion. Twisting. It doesn't look like a big motion, but I feel it all the way down the left side. And you're just going to hold that and hold that until you feel it and need it.
Love it. I love that stretch. I do that in yoga all the time.
Very much a yoga mode.
Yes. But so key about just some of the little details that you gave to some of the cueing about, pressing down, spiraling forward with the ribs and so on. And so that's really key too. Talk to us about the importance of daily movement, and how this supports fascial health. Because, as I said, this is important for you yourself and how you use your body with your clients and your patients. And so how important is that?
For me, in order to be able to do what I do, I have to maintain my strength, maintain my mobility. And pretty much anybody who does anything that has anything to do with touch, it's very important to maintain your mental health as well. Because as soon as you touch someone, whatever you're feeling, your energy and all of that translates into that person.
Absolutely.
So if I'm having a bad day, I have to, and before I touch anybody, I will take some time to stop, sit. If I'm doing a mobile appointment, I will sit in my car. I will try to get places early and sit in my car for a minute and just gather my thoughts and I do mantras. That helps me. Just repeating positive things and like, this is why you're doing this. You're here to help people. This is what you do, in order to get myself in the right frame of mind. Because if you go into it with a negativity, that translates into your touch. And it's not even just the energy. Even if you don't believe in the energy aspect of it,
right,
it translates into how aggressive and how soft and like sensitive your touch is. So all those things take a big factor. So that the mental aspect, the physical aspect, I have to stay strong. I work out 4 to 5 times a week. I try to incorporate mobility within my workouts. So one day might be just full mobility where I'm doing animal flow on the floor, or doing core 4 on the floor, where I'm just moving my hips, making sure my hips are working properly. I try to roll my feet out almost every day because I work barefoot for the most part.
Right.
So try to make that foot, that goes back to reflexology, but your feet hold so much.
Yes, yeah.
They hold so much, and we neglect them so much. And the more I learn as we do this I go through this reflexology course, it ties a lot of the things that I already knew, because to this point, most of my modalities have been muscular or skeletal, which are parts of the physiology of the body. But now we're going into organs. We're going into systems. So we're dealing way more with the nervous system. We're dealing way more with the circulatory system. Now we're dealing with glands. We're dealing with the pituitary glands.
Right.
We're dealing with the adrenal glands. And all that stuff is affected by the foot. And the fact that the whole session, you're only touching the feet or hands, and you're not touching any of these glands or your digestive system.
Right.
But I can spend 5 minutes on someone's foot, and all your releases. And all of a sudden you can breathe better.
That's incredible.
It is though. And it's like, and like I said, when I was younger, there's no way you could have told me that and I would have believed you.
Right.
But now it's like, even just seeing it for the first time, it was insanity. Like doing it myself and then feeling how it actually works, and doing like the test before and the test after.
Right.
So that brings us back to where the assessment comes. Knowing where you came from in order to understand like where you're at now after these processes. So even in every single one of my posts, it's like, as much as you're seeing me do all these stretches, people are like, oh, that looks fun, that looks great. But until you feel it, you don't really understand. Like sometimes I've had people break into tears on my table, because
I believe it.
Especially we hold so much in our hips.
Hips, absolutely.
Right? So now we start releasing the stuff in your hips, and now all of a sudden you're crying and you have no idea why you're crying.
Absolutely. And it's
people start laughing.
Yeah.
Right? Like start laughing. Right? Like just kind of like, oh my gosh, I've never felt a stretch like that, or I've never felt my body feel like this, right? It can affect so many things within your body that it's insane. And it's you almost feel like addicted to helping people, because you're like, absolutely. I want as many people to feel what I felt in this moment.
I have goosebumps. I love it. So beautiful, so powerful. You know, you mentioned a Thai massage practitioner, and I know that a lot of all of that, like that as well, ties into everything that you study and that you do. So we're going to look at that when we come back. Okay.
Hello everyone, my name is Jermaine Chambers, and I'm very excited to tell you about the newest political and current affairs program coming here to Brampton. It's called On Point.
The first step of true reconciliation is learning more about one another.
Join us on Tuesdays from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. as we discuss all the issues.
I will never forget the trust you put in me.
Municipal, provincial, federal, and any issue of national importance, we will talk about On Point. So do join us.
That's you there, hard at work again. I love it. I wanted you to tell us a little bit about Thai massage now and how that kind of incorporates. You've touched on it a little bit, but let's expand a little bit there.
I can't remember the last time I did an only Thai massage session.
Okay.
I mix everything so much now.
Yeah.
But I think Thai was the first modality that I learned, and I'm happy that I did it that way. It's interesting, like we say, everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely.
I originally started looking into Thai, but then also looked into fascial stretch therapy. I was trying to decide between which I was going to take. I was only going to take one. I decided on fascial stretch therapy, but the next course was sold out. So I was looking at Thai, and I was like, Thai was up next. I could take it, and I was like, I'm just going to take it, and then I'm also going to sign up for MS. And I was just kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know any of this. But I'm actually really happy I did it the way that I did. Coming from a personal training standpoint, we really don't focus on, in terms of like getting certified as a trainer, we don't focus on the anatomy as much as we should, I feel.
Agreed.
And when I took the Thai massage course, they were intense about the anatomy aspect, and I learned a ton about that.
Right.
That's how I learned about touch.
Right.
And then there's also this principle called metabhavana, which is, as a practitioner, you have to take care of your own body before you are able to give. So when everybody knows that if you've ever flown before, you put on your mask before you put on anybody else.
That's right.
And
sorry to interrupt you, Devon, but you studied with Navina, right? With Drew Hume?
Yeah.
Yes, who's incredible. I did a workshop with him as well, and he's just amazing. So, yeah, that resonates so much.
It's funny, I didn't actually meet him until 2 years after.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is fascinating. But Daniela used to teach there. And
yes, she's incredible.
that world. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So she's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that whole world is insane and very connected.
Yes.
But yeah,
Very much so.
honestly, I give a lot of props to my Thai massage training in order to get me to the point where I am. Whereas as much as I don't use it as much as I use FST, it still is a big part of it. And it influences some of the stuff I do with my FST. So I'll be doing a stretch and then I'll add some Thai massage acupressure to a stretch so that they work together so that you're also getting the optimal use of the muscle. So while stretching, using acupressure to bring blood flow to the area that is extremely tight while you're stretching it.
Right.
So yeah, it's circulation, like the whole circulatory system is in itself like you need like a couple of years.
Yeah. This interview is not going to cut it.
You need years. Like you need to sit there and like study it because it's fascinating if that's what you're interested in.
Yes.
But it's like once you get into it, you're just like, I need to know more.
Yes. Oh, and isn't it always like that? The more we study, the more we think, I know nothing. I need more.
Yeah. And then there's also, the funniest thing is there's also points because one of my personal training clients, she also does stretch and she's a Pilates instructor also, but she comes to me for training and stretch. And we always get into these conversations and I'm like, do you think we know too much? Are we learning too much for our own bodies? Because it's just like everything, like you're constantly assessing your body.
Yes.
To the point, like I said, you can't even run on a treadmill without being like, oh, that's not activating.
Exactly.
Let me move.
Exactly. Let me open up this line here a little bit more, just in case.
Like it's just like everything is like, oh, everything's related to everything. And you're like writing and you're like, oh, my finger. Oh, I wonder what that is. Like
that's so true.
Yeah, it's an addiction, but it's a good addiction, right?
So that's a good point. I actually want to look up or see if we can open up this video of you doing a little bit of your own strength and mobility work here. Let's have a look at this. But yeah, I love that, you taking a little bit of time out for yourself, as you mentioned, the importance of that. Just touch on that again for us, like how has that helped you otherwise, like in the rest of your daily life, not just in terms of being, helpful and healthy to be able to support your clients. How has this translated to your health in other ways or in other areas of your life?
I think it all goes back to, I was like, how far back do we want to go? It all goes back. I went through my own, I call it kind of like an awakening. I went through some stuff within my personal life that made me reevaluate everything. So it made me reevaluate my morals, where they came from, what are the things that I value and what is actually important to me.
Right.
And I had to change my whole way of thinking. I used to think very, very negatively. I was very cynical about everything. And I literally made a decision that I'm not going to be that way anymore. So I decided that I'm going to live a more positive life. I started meditating daily. I started reading and focusing on the books that I read, making sure that they're positive, surrounding myself with positive people.
Yes.
And those changes, a big part of that while I was in the process of it, exercise for me. Because I was like, that was probably when I got the most fit I've ever been in my life. And I had to work out. I worked out every single day. I would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, do a workout. Then I would work out on my lunch hours. I was still in corporate then. I would work out on my lunch hours. And while I was dealing with my stuff, people at work knew, don't talk to Devon.
She's going to
unless it's work related. Keep it moving. I'm a very friendly person in general, right? I'm trying to peg We're a friendly Manitoba. And Vinci too.
Exactly.
Vinci's, we're very friendly people. So that combination of things for me to just shut down. I shut down for like 3 months in order to take care of myself, and people and where I worked, my boss respected that, and the people that I worked with respected that I needed time to deal with what I was dealing with. And all I did was exercise. All I did was exercise, and I got in the best shape of my life. And then I was like, all of a sudden I was like back into training, and then I was like, okay, my job isn't fulfilling enough. Let me quit my job and start my own business. Like it was just like it was a domino effect.
Yes,
and so
definitely.
To where like people would be like, oh, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And my generic answer was, I see myself being a better Devon.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to give you a definitive answer because there's so many things changing constantly, and I'm going to keep learning so many things that there is no definitive. I don't know where I'm going to be in 5 years, and that's okay. Because
absolutely.
What I'm going to work on, I'm just going to work on being a better person. So I'm going to work on being a better sister, a better friend, a better partner, a better everything. So that when I show up in life, everything for a purpose. I'm not just doing things just to do them. I'm doing them because, one, I believe in them. Two, they're going to also reflect and help other people. I'm going to look at the effects of everything that I'm doing, and just doing that every single day, you would see how it manifests abundance into your life. It's so funny how like I always felt like, oh, woe is me, you know, like, oh, people are doing like playing that victim role, like everybody's doing everything to me. And now it's like, even when somebody does something to me, and I'll be like, you know what, that was my fault for expecting them to act different than how they react. That's my fault.
Yes.
I'm going to take responsibility for my part in that situation, and I'm going to keep it moving.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100. Absolutely.
Yeah. And all of it is related. It's related to in how, like, when people come to my sessions, I think half of the reason that people have such good results, there's a trust when they deal with me. And there's a respect in that when you come in, I'm going to give you the most positive energy, because at the end of the day, I just want you to feel better.
That's right.
Right? I was like, that's literally my goal with every single person that comes in. Like, even if I'm having the worst day, when someone comes into my table and I'm like, ooh, I can help you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? All that other stuff is forgotten.
Definitely.
Like, every single part of it. Like even how it manifests in your physical being is hilarious. When I came back, I went to Ghana for the year of return.
Oh, incredible.
Which was amazing. That's a whole other long But I came back and I got sick on the airplane, but then I got better quick, but then I had this cough that wouldn't go away.
Yeah.
And then I had my first day of treating, and I was so bad because I just kept coughing. I was so worried that I was wearing like one of those masks.
Yeah, yeah.
People walking around, and I was like, I'm really not sick. I just have this really weird cough that won't go away. And as soon as my clients would walk in, the cough would stop, and literally I wouldn't cough the whole session. And then as soon as they walk out the door, I'd start coughing again.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it happened, and then the next person would come in, the cough would stop. Whole session, cough would go away.
I believe it.
Walk out the door, it would come back again, because I would just be like, how the?
Exactly.
Like, I can't explain it. I don't understand it. But at the end of the day, it's just like the body knows. The body knows that like you need to focus on this, and it's just it's unexplainable, but it's amazing.
Definitely. Oh, Devon, that's so beautiful, and that transformation, your own personal transformation, is amazing. The shift in your belief, and I love what you say on your website. You say you have to believe in what you're doing and get past your mental barriers to achieve success. And I think that you just summed it up so well with what you just said and what you just shared with us. So thank you so much for that. What do you think? Let's maybe just one more thing. We just have a few more moments. If you could just share with us, any final words of encouragement for the audience watching today, or if they're watching in the future, to seek relief from pain. What is your final words to them?
I always tell my boot camp clients, because I usually have I'll have a team and they'll be with me for a very extended period of time and they all feed off each other. But the one thing that they always come out learning more than anything is that you're so much stronger than you think you are.
Yeah.
And that manifests in physical, it manifests in the mental aspects, the things that you're able to endure and get through, in the things that you physically can do with your body. Like I've had people who have been overweight their whole life and terrified of doing a push-up.
Right.
But if you give them a weight, that is the same amount of weight that they would be doing in a push-up and ask them to push that, they can push that fine.
Right.
And as soon as you put them in that push-up position to push their own weight, they can't do it. And that, and like trying to like translate and help people to understand that it's a mental barrier.
Right.
That's not a physical barrier.
Right.
You are strong enough. And try something. Like try something, try anything, and try everything.
Yes.
If you don't like it, you don't have to ever do it again.
That's right.
Like,
I heard that.
That literally got me up the CN Tower climb once. I did it once, and the whole time I was doing it, I was like, just keep going. I've done this. You never have to do this.
Yeah, that's right. Adult decision done.
Like,
I'm not doing it.
It hurt. It hurt. And I was very out of shape at that time too. I wasn't into fitness at all at that time. And we were doing it as a team, and I lost the team, and I was by myself, and I just, Devon, just get through this.
That's right.
You have to do this one step at a time. And that's literally like how I live my life. Like, even in the things that I don't like doing, and I encourage everybody, like there's a lot of things that you think that you're not good at,
right?
That you just never try because you don't think you're good enough at it. Try it anyways. Do it anyways. And like, even if you're not good at, even if you do it and you're still not good at it,
exactly.
And you like doing it, keep doing it. Like, if you like it, do it. If you don't like it, don't do it. Like, not everything is for everyone.
That's right.
Right? Like, it's like if you yoga and you're like, oh, I don't like yoga, but I'm like, oh, try a different kind of yoga. Right? I'm not a yoga person. I understand it and I respect yoga 100% of what it does for most people.
Right.
But then I found mobility, and mobility works better for me.
Sure. Absolutely. Right? Exactly.
Right? And that's the thing. Like, even if you find something that doesn't work for you, keep looking. Keep looking until you find something that works for you, something that makes you want to get out. If there's something, you can find something that makes you want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do it before you go to work. It will change your life.
That's the thing.
It will change your life.
Couldn't agree more. Devon, this has been incredible. I'm so pleased that you were able to share what you were able to share today. And I know there's so much more that we could learn, but we're definitely out of time. But anyways, I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today and for sharing all that you did with the audience today. So, yeah, we'll see you next week on Shaping
Thank you
Life.
so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a great conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. I'll see you.
All right. Bye.
Bye. So we'll see you next week on Shaping Life. Thank you very much for tuning in today.